Hello and welcome back to Judging 101. I'm Mike Weaver and I'm going to talk today about application of movement and show design and for competition show choir. And just about me quickly, I've been a longtime student and fan of staging for theater and film and video for many years. Over 30 years, I have I guess created a little reputation I've achieved moderate success as a choreographer for the show choir genre, a competition show choir genre. And like many choreographers, I've learned by trial and error, which means I've made more fouls than home runs, and that's okay. But I'm encouraged because each year I feel like I'm getting better and more accurate and more keenly aware of what is possible. So I'm encouraged. I'm going to share with you what I've learned as a choreographer and what I look for as a judge. And this is to help, I guess, in this series to give you some perspective on judging. So let's first start off with the idea that movement, I'm going to talk about movement and show design. Movement comes from the material. So in this case, in the design world, it's called form follows function. There's a term called form follows function. So that means that the form of whatever it is completely or primarily dependent upon what its function or purpose is. Same with movement. For choreography, that's what I'm talking about. So that means that before I can talk about movement, I'm going to talk about show design. Show design is nothing more than a map of elements. It's a map of taking an audience or a viewer from point A to point B, and it's a checklist of physical and musical and visual elements that all serve together to reach this destination. So that's one way to think about it. And it's sort of like a promise to the audience or a contract, meaning we performers are going to take you audience on this journey, and we're going to start right here and hook you, and now we're going to create a seamless trip for the audience, a seamless journey with no mechanical breakdowns, no tour guides that are lackadaisical, no off the beaten path things. You can, as long as you come back to the main road, but it's a journey. So show design really is to try to make a seamless trip or experience for the audience to get from point A to point B. Now, with that in mind, there are certain ways that you can do this, of course, and as a judge, we are constantly aware that we are just basically an audience member, right? So we look at it as an audience first, as a judge second. At least I do. I want to enjoy the show. I'm rooting for you. I want this thing to be perfect. I want you to perform it perfectly as planned. So when something goes off course, that's where I have to start using my pencil or electronic, putting a score on it, because that is what the audience sees. They see this thing that's carrying them along, and then it somehow goes off, and that's where we lose them. So that's what you're really judging for show design. You're saying, does this continue on? Okay, and there are 6 things that I figured out that you can use that make this first. First of all, has the goal or theme or objective been established up front? For example, if you're going to talk about a show about travel, so you're going to open with some kind of a theme or statement that says this is a show about travel in some way, and then you have to deliver that. If it's a show about comedy, in order for the audience to laugh, you have to open up the comedy file up front. Let us know that this is going to be ridiculous or this is going to be farcical. If it's dramatic, open up dramatically to let us know that it's dramatic. I'm sorry, there's stuff going on in the back and I'm trying to make this work here. So this is the first thing. Has there been a stated theme or a stated sort of goal that we can now, as an audience, lock into and watch? Okay, that's the first one. Number 2, does the design exploit the strengths of the performers? So if you have great dancers, does the design of the show give us a moment where we get to see those great dancers? Or we have a great soloist, do we have those moments where we can see the great soloist? Now, most show choir shows do. However, sometimes there is a moment where, for example, it can be an all men's number or an all women's number. And maybe that's not your best strength. Maybe this year we graduate a lot of seniors, and this year we have a lot of new people coming in, and they're good, they're just not very experienced. Well, a good design will figure out a way to use those people in a way that they're not exposed for their inexperience. So you want to make sure that the design does that. And from a judging standpoint, that's what I'm looking for. I'm saying, is that the strongest thing you can do there? Is that strong? Is that not strong? Oh, you've hidden that. Good for you. I look for that stuff as a judge. Number 3, does the design accomplish the goals safely? So we're talking about props, set pieces, tricks and lifts, anything that is a possible safety risk. Can someone get hurt? Well, that stuff needs to be rehearsed. It needs to be planned in a way that it can be performed safely each and every time. There should be some training involved if you're doing tricks and lifts so that, people are safe. I look for that stuff. Sometimes you'll see situations where Ike's, it's my heart stops because someone's about to fall. So you look for those things, and if the design does not accomplish that, that's a problem. That's a big problem. Okay. Next, number 4, is the design continuous? Meaning, does it connect musical material with a series of transitional devices or an ebb and flow so that the thread of what we started with is continuous from this song to that song to this song to this song, etc., so that it stays engaging for me, a viewer. Am I led, even though we change styles and genres and tempos and emotions, is there a connecting thread that carries me from place to place, from moment to moment? And ideally, a full emotional experience for an audience, they want to experience, something, exciting, something funny, or something humorous, or something surprising, or something emotional or dramatic. They want this kind of smorgasbord. It's like a big buffet tray of emotional content in their show. And an audience, I'm saying, just from my experience, an audience that has gone through 15, 18, 17, whatever long your show, minutes of that, feels like they've fully experienced some kind of a event. It's not just one level, but it's a series of moods, a series of feelings, a series of styles and genres and variety, right? So that's the other one. Number 5, does the show stay within the imaginary world that it creates? So for this, I mean, does the show, this design, does it happen in an office? Does it happen on a mountain? Does it happen in Scotland? Does it happen in London? Does it happen in Los Angeles? Does it happen just in a theater? Does it happen like right here, right now on a show choir stage? Is the show about show choir, right? So that's important, because the more you can capture the audience into some imaginary world, you can then really engage them in the rules of that world. For example, if your show is got characters in it, it's a narrative, like a story show, and it has a magical character, for example, that can do magic, then once you open that file at the front of the show, we know that this show has magic in it. Now we, as an audience, know what to expect. We're in a world of magic here. Anything can happen. Magic. If the show is grounded in not magic, it's a show where it's very like, this is physical, it's real, it's no magic here, this is what happens. If that's the show grounded, that's perfectly fine too. Most shows are. However, come this one moment, if something magical happens, we're confused. We're like, well, wait, where'd the magic come from? What? You just broke the rules of the world. Yep. So that's an important one. Does the show stay continuous in its worldview that it's in, and make us, the audience, engage in that world? And number 6 here, how does the design use style elements? And what I mean by style elements is things that are that help to express what the lyrics or the story is about. So everything from color to musical elements to movement elements to costume elements, set design, anything that is going to give us a style that we can say, okay, here's the style of this. It happens in this color scheme of reds and blacks, or it's in the 1960s, or it's in the 1920s, or whatever. There's some style element, and that leads me to the final thing that I wanted to talk about, and that is choreography. It's movement and choreography. So in this case, we're talking about style in movement and choreography. Is the choreography going to help tell this story? And the thrill of choreography, first of all, in show choir is undeniable, right? It's exciting to see 30 or 40 people up on a stage with a band and stacked levels, dancing. That's exciting and all that. But it's very easy to lose track of what's the story we're telling. What are we doing here? Are we just dancing? Or are we singing? Or is there a story? Or is there no story? That's okay. It's okay if there's no story, but there has to be a purpose for why we are doing what we're doing. And movement is is that sort of thing. Ultimately, performers are merely actors, and they're using the choreography and the lyrics to tell a story. And I'm saying story loosely. They're using lyrics and choreography to achieve some effect. So that's, I guess, how to think of it. It goes back to that promise that we set at the front of the design, the show design. What's this choreography got to do with that promise, right? That if that helps. Here, let me briefly talk about adjudication for show choir, competition show choir choreography. Choreography falls within a spectrum, basically, of literal to abstract. And so the more literal things are, like, everyone knows that means okay. That can be choreography. Da, 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 boom. 2,000 people know what that means. We've communicated an idea. If you sing about the sky and look up, well, we know that means sky. Well, you can also do that in some kind of ballet sort of way. Boom, whatever, the sky, whatever. It's more abstract. And that's another form of that. So my point is, choreography hits a part of a spectrum that's either literal or abstract. And the more literal, the more you're playing with comedy and theater and acting. The more abstract, the more you're playing with classical dance and modern dance and things that are more about physical, beauty, as opposed to gesture and acting. That's the two spectrums. So, and that can include any kind of level in between that. So that includes social dance and folk dance and religious dance and other dance styles all fall within that. But most dance is created to express something, of course, and that's what you're looking for. That in judging that for show choir, you're always trying to find the connection between why these lyrics go with that movement, right? And the three things to judge here. Is there a good balance between the vocal production and the visual production? At any given moment, the audience or judges should be able to tell, okay, this moment right here is all about the vocal. And oh, this moment here is all about the visual. Now, those things can blend over, but you've got to hit a balance, because if the vocals are requiring, you know, a lot of parts, big singing, and the choreography is doing something else and requiring, you know, a lot of physical activity, that's a fight. So either the vocals are going to lose or the choreography is going to lose, right? So you're trying to constantly gauge what is important for this 4 measures, what's important for this 2 measures, what's important for this 8 measures. So as a show goes along or a song goes along, as a judge, I'm wanting to see that attention's been paid to what is the focus right here for this. For this verse of the song, what's the focus? Is it the choreography or is it the vocals? And yes, of course they're going to overlap, but that's a balance, right? One of them needs to win at all times. One of them needs to be the focus, okay? So that's one. 2, does the movement express? Meaning, does it attempt, does this movement, the reason that this movement's here, does it attempt to somehow be lyrical, so it's expressing the meaning of the lyrics of the song, or it somehow expresses the era or mood or period, so it's a 20s thing or a 40s thing or a 60s thing? Well, there's lots of movement that give you information. So for a viewer seeing that, they go, oh, those are 20s moves and this is a 20s song. Oh, that's a go-go move and this is 60s song, for example. You are also able to, as a viewer, as a judge, you're able to gauge whether or not the design has done its research. It is, you know, if you're going to do the 20s, is it accurate? If you're going to do 40s, well, there's 5 different types of Lindy steps. Which one are you doing? You know, it's that's our details, but that comes with experience, just studying dance style. Last one, 3, does the design make use of genre attributes? So this means that if you're doing swing or swing dancing, are you addressing the actual styles of swing dancing? If you're doing hip hop, for example, does it look street? Does it look authentic? Do the costumes help that hip hop move, or do the costumes undermine it? You know, doing hip hop in glittery 3-inch heels doesn't work, for example. So there's a continuity situation there. So as a choreographer, judging choreography, we're trying to constantly gauge whether or not there's been thought behind why that movement is going with that costume with those lyrics. And if that stuff's lined up, it's continuous, it goes back to the promise that was made in the design. We're going to take you on this journey and there's not going to be anything that's a problem. And we're just going to take you on this journey and you're going to be delivered here. Well, if we get in the middle and our journey is going to have us go under the sea and we're dressed not to go under the sea, then that's a problem. If our design has taken us to the streets of New York and we're going to like bring it, but we're dressed in glitter and headdresses, that's a problem. So anyway, that's my point. So anyway, hey, I'm going to shut up. This is a long video, and I'm sorry, Damon, I didn't mean to go this long, but I could talk about branding and other things, but that's another conversation. Good luck, and I hope I said something useful to you, and hopefully I see some of you. Email me, say hi. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, bye.